Welcome to the Front Seat Life podcast. This is Jessica Butts, your host and CEO and creator of Front Seat Life, where I help you be unapologetically who you are in your life, love, and business. Welcome back, Front Seat Lifers. It is Jessica, your host of the Front Seat Life podcast, and I am coming to you today actually from one of my events. So I am a coach, as you guys know, and I coach these ridiculously wonderful, amazing entrepreneurial women here, actually from all over the country. I live in Seattle, so they come here, and I am on day 3 of coaching. I am in a conference room, so I apologize about the echo, but you know what? This is what girl bosses and entrepreneurs got to do. I got to do this shit when I can do it. And I am leaving for Maui for my first ever event in Maui on Sunday. And so people, this is what you got to do. You got to go sit in a conference room at a hotel when you are hosting an event, when you can get away to record a podcast. So that's where I'm coming from today. And we got a lot to talk about today. In fact, this is somewhat in alignment with my entrepreneurial life and the life that I have created and this crazy thing that I get to do now, and not being in a 9-to-5 job and traveling and doing something outside of the norm. Because today we're going to be talking about, do you need more variety in your life than your partner? And this is going to be around the sensing and intuition dichotomy. So if you've been following along in the podcast, we have been transitioning from self into other. Last week's episode was about understanding your partner's energy, the introversion and extroversion, that whole part of understanding how your energy is different than your partner's if one of you is introverted and one of you is extroverted. And today we are continuing this relationship conversation. I'm going back to my therapy roots. I'm putting my therapy hat on. I used to love doing couples therapy. Oh, I missed it. I loved high conflict couples. It was like so my jam. I loved when they would come in and I could watch their body language and they'd yell at each other, and just helping them really kind of understand from an outside perspective and a third party perspective what was going on with them. And this dichotomy was one of the biggest ones that would come up notoriously over and over and over again in my work as a couples therapist, as well as in my own relationship. So this was a huge reason that my husband and I ended up separating and getting divorced. Well, there's a lot of reasons, but in my opinion, and he obviously, well, not obviously, but he differs in this opinion. I asked him to come on the episode when I kind of talked about sensing and intuition, and we're going to talk about it specifically around couples, because then I ended up having my ex-boyfriend on and we talked about this. And so today is going to be highlighting specifically about the variety. So if you need to go back and listen to the sensing and intuition episode, most certainly go back and listen to that one. It was a fantastic episode with David Walthew and I. And then today I want to dig deeper in terms of this being around couples. So again, my husband, Brian, was a very, very strong sensor. And I am what I would consider probably an off-the-charts intuitive type. So again, this is all about how we take in information. Sensors are logical, concrete, factual, take in information via their 5 senses. If they can touch it, taste it, hear it, smell it, see it, it is a fact. And that is how they process information and take in information. It is also, drum roll please, 75% of the population. So when I get into, talking about kids and all of those kinds of things, this dichotomy is astronomically important about understanding ourselves and others, because I think probably more than any of the other dichotomies, this is the one that we misunderstand the most, and we also judge the most. We judge other people. We don't understand how they don't see things the way that we see them, but especially for intuitives. So while sensors take in information via their 5 senses, the rest of us, the 25% of the population, again, the other 25%, I like to call it, the marginalized types in our society, the intuitives denoted by an N because I is already used for introversion, We take in information via, using air quotes on a podcast, sixth sense. We have a gut feeling about something. We have a speculation about something. We really trust our gut and our intuition. And this dichotomy is so much as well about the need for variety, the need for living life outside of the confines of what normal society says is correct. So that's really what this episode is about. I'm digging in deeper about the need for variety and how that can impact relationships. So one of my most memorable clients, it was when I very, very first started doing therapy. One of my first clients that came in, he was a very strong intuitive type, probably like me, kind of just off the charts, dreamy and visionary. And he was an entrepreneur, and he still always wanted to be doing things differently. His wife, on the other hand, they had two beautiful kids. His wife, on the other hand, was an incredibly strong sensor. She was very into day-to-day routine. She was great at taking care of the children. She was just kind of the main caretaker. She also worked, but very important to her to keep structure, keep balance, keep things running, doing the lunches and the grocery shopping and the stuff. Well, he was always kind of dreaming. So they actually had a pretty fantastic relationship, but they came to see me because this dichotomy, they didn't know this, of course, at the time, but this dichotomy was really challenging them. Her biggest complaint was she felt like he wasn't happy in their relationship because he was always talking about what ifs. And I call intuitives the what ifers, because he would say things almost monthly. Honey, what if we, sell the house and we quit our jobs and we move to Hawaii and we open up a pineapple stand? Or, the next month, hey, babe, what if we, what if we just moved to Paris for a year and we let the kids kind of experience a completely different culture? Hey, babe, what if I went and did this? Hey, babe, what if I go back to school and I become a blah, 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 blah? There was always this what if. And her interpretation as a strong sensor, because again, this is innate qualities, people. This is innateness. This is how we are born into this world. We cannot change each other. So her interpretation of this was, for you sensors listening right now, you probably already know what it is why aren't you happy with what we have? What's wrong with me? Why can't this be enough? And when we started digging into it, he realized, oh my God, that's not it at all. He loved her dearly. He loved their family, but he was a super strong intuitive, as I am, and a lot of you listening might be as well. And we have this innate need to want to do things different and to have variety. Day-to-day routine for intuitives is literally a form of slow death. It is monotonous. It is life-sucking, and we need, not want, we need variety. And I think this is a very hard thing for sensors to understand, because they are great with routine, and literally, thank God they are. They are the ones building our airplanes. They are the one keeping the 9-to-5 jobs. They are the ones keeping life running for so many of us in relationships. Yet they think that we're flighty. And I think it may come off that way. I mean, to be completely transparent, I think it does come off that way, as that we're dreamers, we're flighty, we're out there, we're not grounded. And for sensors, that can seem really irritating. And so it doesn't mean that the sensor has to do it the intuitive's way, or the intuitive needs to do it the sensor's way. It's about communicating. It's about, as we've been talking about for the last 10 episodes, is putting your own oxygen mask on first, understanding this is who I am innately, and then understanding our partner. And of course, this brings me back to my husband. And so Brian and I did not understand this at the time that we were married. I think I knew these things about type because I've really been obsessed with type for 20 plus years, yet we weren't in a place maybe where he could hear it or I could explain it in a way that made it useful for our relationship. But I oftentimes would try to explain to him that it is difficult for me to do these day-to-day routines. It is difficult for me to do the grocery shopping and come home and do the cooking and, get up in the next morning and do the same thing over, or to pay the bills, because I'm a big picture person. It was very difficult for me to do those kinds of things. And what I received back during that time, because we weren't in a good place and didn't know how to do this, is a lot of judgment that I was wrong, that there was something wrong with me. Why are you that way? And it would almost become this, he would force me in a way, like, I'm not going to do this. You have to do it. I need you to do it. And then of course, how did I feel? I felt like shit all the time. I felt like I'm stupid. What's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? And so I would spend all this time in my back seat. And if you need to go back and listen to that episode, I think it's episode number 1 or 2, I would spend all this time in my backseat, questioning myself, worried, trying to do things that I sucked at, getting online, paying all the bills. Thank God they have auto pay now, and I'm single and I can take care of this shit by myself. But yes, I have a bookkeeper now. I don't do these things by myself. I have help. But in our marriage, it became this judgment, right? Because he couldn't or wouldn't see me for who I was, which is this creative, think outside the box kind of person. I didn't want to have a 9-to-5 job. We were still married when I went back to graduate school. And even when I graduated from graduate school, I wanted desperately to start my own private practice. And I took every measure to do that. And it was like fighting an uphill battle because he needed to know the details. He needed to know how much it was going to cost, where I was going to get my clients, how I was going to make this happen. And in reality, and some of you listening right now might think this is ridiculous, but I didn't know how, but I knew, it makes me tear up. Like, I knew that I could do it. I knew that I could do it. And I did. And I worked my fucking ass off to get it done. But, and yes, it's part of my pride now is proving him wrong. I will be totally honest about that. But it was just this, I don't know how, but I'm going to do it. And I need you to love and support me. And at that time where we were in our relationship, or who he was as a person, or there's probably a lot of factors, but the sensing and intuition was part of it, is that he couldn't do that. Couldn't or wouldn't. He needed numbers of things that I didn't have numbers for. And he needed a fucking, business plan. And he needed all of this stuff. And what I needed was somebody to root me on, cheer me on, and support that dream. However, I will also say that there's a lot of dreamers out there that also need to get their shit together. So this is a little bit of a butt kicky, and I'm going to spend pretty much August, September, October, November, and December actually talking to you about business planning and the J and P dichotomy and the being and doing. Intuitive types are dreamers. We think outside the box. We want to not have 9-to-5 jobs. We want to be entrepreneurs. We want to be, yoga people. We want to again, think outside the box. Hello, Front Seat Lifers. I have a crazy, exciting announcement. I have been waiting to put this new work out into the world for probably 7 years. It's been in me that entire time. So most of you know I have a master's degree in clinical psychology. I used to be a couples counselor. I loved that work. I actually really enjoyed working with high conflict couples, addiction, infidelity, as well as couples that were just doing great. It was one of my favorite things actually to work with those couples who just needed a little tune-up, if you will. And that is exactly what I am bringing you next. So my first book, Live Your Life from the Front Seat, was released 4 years ago and is the basis for kind of all understanding of self, using personality types, some therapy skills, codependency, mindset skills, learning how to put it all to good use by taking action. That is the first step in helping you be unapologetically who you are in your life.
Then I released 2 years later, Don't Do Stuff You Suck At. And that really is more for entrepreneurs and digs deep into personality type and specifically the last dichotomy of J and P to help you understand why you have trouble getting things done. And it also digs deeper into what you should not be doing, hence the name. I also introduced in that book my trademark system, the 3S method, structure, system, singular, focus, to help you take decisive action, helping you be unapologetically who you are in your business. And the last announcement, it's not going to be a book quite yet, but I am launching my first ever online program around the love content. Drum roll, please. I literally couldn't be more excited to take this work, bring it to you in an online format. This is really going to be for couples who are doing well. They are in a good place. They are fairly happy, need some good communication skills. And I will be honest too, this actually doesn't take an entire couple. It really could just be one person in the relationship because that makes a huge difference as well. I'm going to teach you every single best couples tool that I've ever used. We're going to start with all of the dichotomies, really diving into them deeper about how they are about your relationship. And stay tuned for the entire month of March as I'm going to be diving in deep to all of these different dichotomies. We're going to talk about masculine and feminine energy. We're going to talk about personality type. We're going to talk about mindset and love languages and communication skills and ladder of inference and family of origin and core values and really all the tools that have literally changed relationships, changed my relationship, changed the relationships that I've had the honor of working with. So stay tuned for more. In the meantime, the wait list is open. It is going to get filled very, very, very fast. So go to frontseatlove.com, enter your name, and we will make sure that we keep you updated on all of the good stuff coming. I cannot wait to work with you. Don't forget, frontseatlove.com.
NPs, intuitive perceivers, are what I call squirrels. So oftentimes they have a lot of ideas that can be very frustrating to their partner because they don't get them done. So this is kind of a whole other topic if I'm getting honest. So I may not, go down this rabbit hole right now, but NPs need to have some structure. And so sometimes that can get a little bit frustrating. However, NJs, that's myself in particular, we have ideas and we like to be able to get them done. Granted, we're a little bit ball busty. We're a little bit like get out of our way. Hence, partially why I got divorced at the time was I know that I can do this thing. And if you are going to continue to naysay me, you're going to continue to get in my way, you're going to continue to micromanage me, I can't be in this relationship. I mean, quite honestly, that is a big part of the reason we ended up getting divorced is because if you can't support this dream of mine and if you need things that I can't give you, then you need to get the fuck out of my way because I've got to go do this thing. I have a calling. I am being driven. I am being called to do something greater. And again, if you are not in a place that you can support that, I need you to get out of my way. And, this is not exactly where this conversation was meant to go. This is not part of my notes. But it's a huge part of it. And so for some of you that are listening right now, know that you are an intuitive. This just hit home with you. When I tell this on big stages, I can see people crying in the audience. I know that this is a huge thing for them because they have this drive. They have this passion, yet they might often just live with a censor. And it doesn't mean that they are there to necessarily bust our balls, although sometimes they are. They just don't see it the way we see it. So educating yourself on this, let your partner listen to this podcast episode. Go get my book, Live Your Life from the Front Seat. Go check out all the shit on my website. Like whatever you need to do to understand this dichotomy so that you can sit down with your partner and say, oh my God, this crazy chick on this podcast, Jessica Butt, she taught me this thing about myself and I see ourselves in her story. I wonder if this might be our type. I have a free assessment on my website. Go, both of you take it, jessicabutts.com. All of this crazy shit that I do in the world is so that I can help people not do the same stuff I did. It makes me crazy to think about all of the mistakes that kind of Brian and I made and and the time that I necessarily wasted. Granted, I don't regret any of it because it was part of what got me to this place that I am today. But I want people to see this earlier on. I want couples in particular to get this, to have conversations, to be able to have a third party person like myself educate you, teach you, go to frontseatlove.com and register and find out more about my upcoming course on this. But this whole idea of wanting to educate couples on this information so that you can quit pathologizing each other, right? This is what we do. We label each other. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you more like me? Why can't you do this? Why is it so hard for you to pay the bills? Why is it so hard for you to dream? Why is it so hard for whatever? Like, we intuitives are just as naggy to our partners as they are to us. Why can't you be more of a dreamer? Why can't you support me? Why this? Why that? It doesn't mean I'm right. I probably nagged Brian as much as he nagged me. Instead, let's just love each other. Let's just get each other. Let's just start having open dialogue. Let's just start having open freaking conversations about this as a couple that loves each other, instead of, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you this way? Why can't you do it this way? If you are currently married or in a partnership, whatever, a relationship, and you are different in this dichotomy, I urge you more than any other dichotomy to learn about this so that you don't go down this rabbit hole and make the mistakes that I've made in my relationships of getting into this. Why aren't you this way? I don't like this about you, labeling you. You're wrong. You're weird. You're difficult. You're whatever. And instead, again, coming back together and just loving each other. The next book is called Love Me for Who I Am, because it's basically like, this is who I am. This is what I got going on. This shit ain't going to change. This is it. And we need to learn how to navigate this. Shake on it with your partner. I'm not going to try to change you, and you don't try to change me. Shake on it. Good. Got it. Excellent. We got to learn about each other, and we got to remember it. We got to take courses. We got to learn about stuff. We got to educate ourselves on the freaking difference that's going on with us. So let me get off my soapbox for 1 second and get on a different soapbox, because we're going to talk about a little bit of the variety of like all the different varieties that we got going on in a relationship. I talked to my group about this a couple of years ago, and they were like, holy shit, I get this in a whole new way. This is hilarious to me, and I get it. So in addition to intuitives needing variety just in life, in their schedule. So in life means they want to go on vacation. They need time away. They need to break things up. They need date night. They need basketball. They need to go to yoga. They need a break from routine. Routine is very, very life-sucking to intuitives. I want to be clear about that. Doing the same thing day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out is desperately tiring for intuitive types. They need vacations. They need little trips. They even need it's not even about that. It's just about different things. Taking classes at a community college, new friends, just different things. And so there's also around your schedule and your life. However, I think I'll probably end this talking about sex. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about sex. This is part of variety. So intuitives need variety in their sex life as well. They like to do things different. They like to be creative. They like to be imaginative. They might like some toys. They might like some different things. They might like to do it different places. And they are not the scheduled kind of sex people. So it censors, again, as more scheduled, more routinized people, scheduling sex is typically not that big of a deal. I actually, as a couples therapist, I've heard plenty of this. couples would schedule sex. It was kind of a requirement for them to make sure that they at least had sex once a week. And so they would schedule it like it was a Sunday morning or a Sunday afternoon or a Tuesday night kind of thing, just to make sure that they were having it. To an intuitive, that is like, it's like having chains on you, right? And all the intuitives know this feeling right now, like you're freaking out right now, because we don't function in that. We like the variety and keeping it fresh and keeping it different and doing it different places. I like to call it hotel sex. Like hotel sex always feels a little bit different. Like there's new furniture and there's new places and new things that you can do it. And just being clear that the routine of how you're having sex, where you're having sex. Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Oh, I'm going to do it. There was a guy that I was dating. God, this is embarrassing. But there was a guy that I was dating for about a year, actually. And he was a very strong sensor. And he was a real, like, we go to bed and it's just so embarrassing. We would go to bed in the evenings and this was his thing. This is the time. And it became very much a routine. I would go as far as to say a little bit boring at times. And I'd be like, holy shit, I need to spice this up. What do we need to do? I need something different. I need some afternoon rendezvous. I need whatever. And I realized it was fine with him, to add in some other stuff, but it wasn't what he would think of. He was very routinized in what he ate and his schedule, all of those kinds of things, getting his oil changed, all the things in his life was very routine, including sex. And so I actually went on my dear friend, Jessa Zimmerman. She's got a gorgeous podcast called Better Sex. Go check it out. And Jessa is a sex therapist, and I was actually a guest on one of her very first episodes. And we talked about this in terms of personality type and how sensors are, again, much more routine, and they're fine with kind of, once a week or whatever the routine might be. And maybe it's every day or maybe it's every night or something. And then intuitives just have this desire for what else? How else can we do this? What's different? Get me creative. Where else can we do it? Those kinds of things. So again, I hope that this episode was helpful for you in terms of seeing the different variety, the need that 25%, not half, 25% of the population needs. And so when two sensors live together or are married or in a partnership, that sometimes isn't always there. And again, this is not, it depends on the severity of your preference. So a 30 out of 30 intuitive like myself, wow, I need a lot of variety. Like my 9-to-5 job used to make me, I can't even tell you, it was the most mind-numbing. I couldn't handle it. I just cannot handle not having variety in my life. And whoever I am in a relationship needs to understand that. I need to have variety. I need to go on vacation. I need to think outside the box. That is something that all intuitives and only 25% of the population needs. So if you're hearing this for the first time, it was probably like when I first learned this, that I used to judge myself a lot of judgment around what's wrong with me. Why am I like this? Why do I need this? I remember my mom when I was younger used to say, Jessica, why are you not okay just with life? You always feel like you have to plan something or do something and you seem very unhappy. And I remember taking that in and thinking, I don't think that's true. But it really stuck with me for a lot of years. And until I really learned about this dichotomy, I realized it's not necessarily about unhappiness, but I do have a need for newness. I have a need to write new books. I have a need in my business to always create something new. I have a need in my relationship for variety and things to be different. And that is just who I am. I'm not going to fucking apologize about it anymore. It's being unapologetically who I am. And it's about describing that in a way that my partner, whoever that might be, in a relationship to help them understand it as well. And again, this is just my choice, but I will likely never be in an intimate relationship with a sensor again. I'm so intuitive that that's a choice, but I'm also not married. I'm seeing someone right now, but I'm single enough that I get to have that choice. I get to choose who I'm with. If you are currently in a committed relationship or married, and you are married to your opposite and you want to stay married to them, you need to have this conversation about, holy shit, I learned this new thing. This woman is speaking to me. She is landing on my heart. I get this. Oh my God, this is me. Because this is how I learned it. I learned it the same way. And I learned this and went, oh my God, that's me. And this is why I have so many issues in my relationship. And so learning how to have that conversation. So I invite you to share this with your partner, to share this with your sister, your mom, your friends, everybody that might need to hear this. Again, us intuitives, we certainly need to hear it because this is such a huge freaking part of who we are in this world. And again, it's time to be unapologetically who we are. Quit trying to minimize ourselves or oppress ourselves or suppress ourselves to fit in, because as only 25% of the population, that's what a lot of us have done. We've grown up, just like I was saying a minute ago. I grew up thinking I was a weirdo. What's wrong with me? My mom's telling me like I might be unhappy or I might be weird. What's wrong with me? Why am I different? I've told this in other episodes. Like I remember being at my 9-to-5 job and, in like Friday afternoon being like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we here? Well, let's go do something different. Like, let's go create something. Let's go play. Let's go, I don't know, like create something new. I just don't get what we're doing. And then looking around and thinking like, am I the only one who thinks this? And then realizing that, yeah, sometimes I was, because the rest of them, they are fine with this routine and God bless them for that. Again, I might get some hate mail for this, but I'm just speaking the truth. Hashtag truth teller. This is not a judgment. I swear to you, I promise. This is just about understanding who we are, putting our own oxygen mask on first, being unapologetically who we are, and then saying to people like, I need you to love me for who I am, and then not changing other people. I'm not going to try to change other people for who they are, but I may choose to not, be in a loving relationship with you because I get that choice right now. And so again, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. I could just keep going on and on and on about this. I so hope this was helpful. Please share this. Again, go review it, rate it. Let me know what you're thinking. I love reading those reviews. Share it on Facebook. Let your friends know about it. I love sharing this with you. So I hope this was helpful and I cannot wait for next week. Holy shit, people. Next week is going to blow your effing mind. Next week is about masculine and feminine energy. It's probably going to be an hour. So just like get ready for it next Friday. Masculine and feminine energy. I'm going to teach you about masculine and feminine energy. And then I'm going to take it to a whole nother level. And I'm going to tie it into the thinking and feeling dichotomy as well as the judging and perceiving. I swear to God, that episode will change your relationship. It'll blow your mind. It'll blow your mind. All right, guys. Love you so much. Thank you, Front Seat Lifers, for listening. And I will see you next week. Bye.
All right, everybody, I have a confession to make. I have a new obsession, and that obsession is reading your ridiculously wonderful, loving, amazing reviews on iTunes. I love them. None of this even matters without all of you. So as a thank you, each week I will be reading one review on air and calling out your review with your name or your iTunes handle. So here's how it's going to go. You're going to go to Instagram and follow me at Front Seat Life. When you hear your name called out on the podcast, you are going to send me a DM with your address and say, oh my gosh, you just read my review. And I or my team will be sending you some Front Seat Life swag. We've got books and we've got tank tops and we've got journals and we have these adorable pink swells. So we will be choosing from the goodie bag and sending it out as a thank you. So thank you in advance. And I am so deeply honored to have the opportunity to thank you back. All right. right, people, today's review. By the way, we're up to 110 five-star reviews. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I literally cannot tell you how much this means to me and just all of the stuff that it has to do with on iTunes. So it's really greatly appreciated. So anytime you want to go over and leave a review, please do so. I love reading them. So today's review is from I Love Sports JE. And this person writes, this is like the nicest compliment ever. They write, Jessica is a luminary and light in the world. I mean, come on, that's so nice. 5 stars, and they write, Jessica is spot on. You have to complete you and do the work and be happy alone before even trying to start a relationship. I wish I had all of Jessica's knowledge like 4 years ago. She is truly a luminary and a realist. Wow. Thank you so much. I Love Sports JE for that incredible review. From the bottom of my heart, truly, thank you so much for listening. I know that you have a ton of options, and the fact that you are taking time to listen to the Front Seat Life podcast means absolutely everything to me. If you're interested in learning more about the Front Seat Life way of life in the community, there's a couple ways that you can do that. First is always starting with your personality assessment tool. It's available on my website at jessicabutts.com. It's totally free, and it will help you figure out your personality type so you'll have some idea of what we're talking about. Next is, if you're interested in hiring me for a keynote or some coaching or strategy days or the fabulous and amazing Front Seat Life community, you can find out all about all of that at jessicabutts.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.